Welcome to the Alouettes Flightdeck, the podcast dedicated to Montreal Alouettes football. I'm Cliffy D, and you can find me on Twitter at Cliffy D.
And I'm Tim Capper. You can also find me on Twitter at Repact. That's REPPACT. And this episode of the podcast is presented by our good friends over at SportBuff, where if you use the promo code of FlightDeck-10 at checkout, you will save 10% on your entire order. Head over to sportbuffshop.com, use the code, save 10%, and enjoy your new merch.
All right. And of course, the Alouettes Flight Deck is all over social media. You can follow us on Twitter at AlouettesFLDeck, on Instagram at Alouettes Flight Deck, on Facebook, find us at facebook.com/AlouettesFlightDeckPod. And don't forget, our merch store is open at teespring.com/stores/AlsFlightDeck. And be sure to follow and subscribe to the YouTube channel at youtube.com/AlouettesFlightDeck.
Yes, sir. And for the final time of the regular season, we want to congratulate David Delaire for winning the pair of SportBuff Shop Flight Crew seats for the home finale. It's a home finale already, clearly. A home finale between the Alouettes and the Argos this Saturday afternoon. It is going to be a great game. Weather looks nice so far. Flyovers to scare everybody. SJ Green. We have a lot to talk about, obviously, this show. And but we are planning. We have plans to bring back these flight crew seats for the 2023 season. Stay tuned for more information because you know what, Cliff? It was a very successful year, and we do want to thank our friends over at SportBuff for helping us offer these seats.
Oh, absolutely. And it was so exciting being able to give away a pair of tickets to a game at Percival Molson Stadium for each and every home game, folks. I mean, that's awesome. Like the fact that we were able to do that and we got so much great participation from the contest. We salute all of our winners. We appreciate everybody that took the time to not only enter the contest, but also shared the links and let everybody else know so that we can get more people interested and get them interested in the flight deck as well. It was amazing. So it was an awesome partnership with SportBuff to be able to give away these seats, and we are definitely looking forward to doing that again in 2023.
Yes, sir. Well, we can finally say playoffs. Playoffs?
What? Playoffs? Don't talk to me about playoffs. No. Let's talk about playoffs.
Let's
for
talk
the
about
third
the playoffs.
Year in a row. Sorry,
Yep.
The third season in a row,
Yes.
I should say. There was that little hiccup in 2020. But yes, for the third season in a row, the Montreal Alouettes are Grey Cup playoff bound.
That's right. But we're just not stuck in second place currently. With 2 weeks remaining in the current CFL schedule, the Alouettes are 4 points behind the Toronto Argonauts, and we play the Toronto Argonauts for the next 2 games. So there's a very good possibility of the Alouettes. If the Alouettes sweep this series, we will host the Eastern semifinal for the first time. And I didn't look it up, but we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We're going game to game, right? We are going game to game.
Right. You mean the Eastern final we'd be hosting?
Sorry, what did I say?
Semifinal. We could host that.
Yes, yeah. We could do
no worse than to host it.
Yes, I meant to say the Eastern semifinal or the Eastern final. There we go. That's what I meant to say. So,
right. In any event, folks, what that means is there will be a playoff game in Montreal. We don't know what the day is. We don't know who will be playing, but you can set your watch to it. You can write it down in your agenda or whatever it is that you use to keep time or track of events or anything like that. There will be a playoff game at Percival Molson Stadium, and that's great. That is really, really great.
That's right. And obviously, Cliff and I want to give a shout out to that certain person who was able to give us the tickets to the game in Ottawa. So your flight crew buddies were in Ottawa this past week, and Cliff and I seem to have a pretty good record as of late, going just to the game ourselves in Ottawa. So over the past couple of seasons, so you
and I together are currently undefeated at TD Place.
Mm-hmm. So far, so good.
Separately, no, but together, when it's you and I going, to represent the flight deck, among other things, and support the Alouettes, you and I are 3-0 right now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
That's pretty awesome.
Yep. And we got to see a pretty good game. Didn't start off, it didn't start off as well as we wanted it to. To their credit, this is not the same Ottawa Red Blacks team that we saw back in TD Place all those weeks ago. It wasn't. Obviously, this is a different team too because of the change in head coach. They seem to be, a different quarterback, etc. But the Alouettes are able to squeak out a 34-30 win. I think one of the funniest comments on social media, Cliff, was, I didn't expect this game to hit 60. And sure enough, it did. The Owls seem to be able to right their ship, especially on defense, and be able to hold the Red Blacks to only 6 points in the second half and come away with that 4-point win. And again, clinch that playoff spot.
Yeah, it was just unfortunate the Red Blacks scored 24 points in the first half, but I guess, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So. But you talk about like a real seesaw matchup. Like, I think both teams were motivated. Like we'd said this last week is that, we hope that the Alouettes were motivated and inspired by the fact that they couldn't close it at home. They could have gotten that playoff nod at home in front of their fans against these Red Blacks, but instead they got embarrassed. And I think they took that with them to TD Place. I think they realized that, and you could tell that it took them a little while to get going, but I mean, it was just one of those games where both teams, I think, really truly wanted to win for different reasons, and it turned into a very overall a very entertaining game in lots of areas. I mean, it was just one of those games that you want your team to win. Whether you're a Red Blacks fan or an Alouettes fan, you want your team to win. There's no question about that. But it just turned into one of those matches that, when it was all said and done, you look back and you say, that was pretty damn entertaining.
No, it was, and I think the most frustrating part for me was in that first half where it just seemed that the Alouettes defense could not stop Nick Arbuckle and the Ottawa Red Blacks offense. It was just, especially their first two touchdowns, which were basically, that second one was dropped on a dime, was perfect. Even with the Alouettes defender there, the first touchdown, it looked like the Alouettes defender slipped, but the problem is that they were scoring. That's the thing. They were scoring, and it was just, that first half was dicey. This fourth quarter itself was even dicier. But, again, as I said before, they were able to right the ship and do what they needed in order to get this win and leave TD Place with a win.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it numerous times. They don't ask how, they ask by how many. And I mean, Montreal did what they had to do. That's really what it came down to. At the end of the day, they got the win, which is the most important thing. Ugly as hell, but I mean, they made it happen. But man, I mean, it's just, you want entertaining football. We've discussed this numerous times, and we obviously wanted Montreal to win so they can finally get that playoff berth, knowing full well that they would be hosting a home playoff game no matter what. But it was one of those things where getting there was not half the fun. It just felt like, back and forth, and just you start doubting. You start starting to think like, maybe they just don't have it. Maybe they really don't deserve to be in the playoffs. Maybe they don't have what it takes. But then things start to fall into place, and they seem to figure it out. It's kind of maddening at times, because you just don't know what to make of this team. But I mean, you can't argue with the results. I think that's really what it comes down to, is you just can't argue with the results. They got the W, they got the X next to their name, and now they know what their goal is. Now, you take it one day at a time, or 1 week at a time. Go 1-0 every week.
That's right.
That's the mantra. And now you know what's at stake. You're playing the Toronto Argonauts for the next 2 weeks at a home-and-home series, and simple. Win both games, you're hosting the Eastern Final. You lose one of those games, you're hosting the Eastern semifinal. And then you got to win that to go back to Toronto and try again in order to get to the Grey Cup.
That's right. I mean,
I don't want to say Montreal controls their own destiny, but in some senses they do. They know what they have to do now. It's just they got to win. They got to win again. Go 1-0 again this week, and then we'll worry about next week. But
yeah,
that is the goal right now.
It's funny, such early in the game. Is it possible to call the massive forced fumble by Thomas Costigan and then the scoop and score by Darius Pickett midway through the first was one of the turning points of that first quarter and first half, actually?
I would have a hard time saying that, just because, again, Ottawa scored, the scoop and score happened, and then Ottawa scored again, and then it just came down to like field goals. for that first half for Montreal. And you are not going to beat this Red Blacks team with field goals, not the way that they were sitting, not with this renewed energy of theirs, and the fact that you could tell they really wanted to win again for Bob Dice. They really wanted to put out for him, but again, that second half, like, adjustments were made, and this team was finally starting to figure it out. The Alouettes were starting to figure out, okay, you got to take advantage of the opportunities when they're there. And I think in the second half, they got it figured out. Obviously, they understood what needed to be done and chipped away at the lead, and they just kept making it work. But also too, Ottawa simply refused to roll over and die. Like,
yeah.
They made the Alouettes earn this victory. I mean, this was not a walk in the park by any stretch of imagination.
No, but my thought to my comment there, Cliff, really is that if we don't have the scoop and score by Pickett, okay, we potentially end the first quarter at a 14-3 lead, a deficit. Mm-hmm. You know, and even if when adding the Fletcher touchdown, the gorgeous Fletcher touchdown, by the way, in the second quarter, you know, to take that away, we're down by 14, not 7. So that's kind of what I meant. Even though they did as well as they did, you know, on that first drive, being able to get points in that manner was huge. Mm-hmm. It really, really was. So I mean, that really was my point. But I mean, it was one of the big plays of that first half. But obviously, the big play obviously goes to Walter Fletcher, friend of the pod, who by the way, if you happen to miss his interview, go check out our archive over at AlouettesFlightdeck.ca. It's there.
Oh yeah.
But
he just, I think he had probably his best professional football game, mm-hmm. and he was doing it all, like whether it was running the ball or catching the ball, scoring touchdowns. I mean, he was all over the place. He was playing like his hair was on fire.
Yeah, and by the way, and remember how we were looking at because when they were doing the replay, when it was being challenged, so to speak, or verifying that Fletcher didn't step out of bounds, mm-hmm. that one view that they showed at TD Place on the screens was very misleading, because you and I both said that there are other angles. And there was, if you watch the broadcast again, or if you go back and you watch the highlights of the game that the league puts out on their YouTube page, it's obvious there's grass in between his feet. So, and he even said to us post game on the field that he didn't want a repeat of what happened earlier in the year versus Edmonton. Mm-hmm. So
yeah. But no, that's it. So I mean, props to Fletch. He did the thing. It looked fantastic doing it. Mm-hmm. I mean, he wasn't the only running back that was scoring touchdowns in Ottawa. Welcome back, William Stanback, in a big way, and that had to feel really good for him, getting his first touchdown of 2022. Yeah. And I don't think
first in almost a year, by the way.
Yeah. But if you had said at the start of the season, while we were at training camp in Trois-Rivières, if I said to you, I think Stanback's only going to score his first touchdown in mid-October.
Yeah.
You'd be like, get the hell out of here with that nonsense. You crazy.
Yes.
But that's how it worked out this year, unfortunately. But knowing that he came back from that injury that he suffered in week 1, the road to that recovery, for him to come back and be a part of this team, and at the absolute best possible time. I mean, you tell he's back. He's only going to get more reps. He's only going to get that rust off that's been gathering since that injury back in week 1. Mm-hmm. But I think for him, he needed that. I mean, it was not a fantastic 20-yard scamper to score the touchdown. It was just a goal line touchdown. But you know what? It still counts. It still means he's on the board. He finally got his first tutty of the year, and you got to know that he's got to be feeling so much relief, knowing that, okay, I am back doing what I love, what I was meant to do. And it's got to be such a tremendous feeling for him.
Oh yeah, for sure. And, even though the rushing yards weren't that high for the Alouettes again this week, still more reps for Stanback. But, dude, we talked about this, I think it was last year. Just the thought of having, the spoils of having not only 2, but dude, technically the Owls have 3 strong running backs, which they can easily throw some interesting, wrinkles into this game. And Fletcher and Stanback were a great tandem this past week.
Yeah, just a great 1-2 punch. And yeah, let's not forget we still have Jeshwin Antwi as well. I mean, he didn't get any rushes against Ottawa, but I mean he was still out on the field. He was still catching the ball. So I mean that still is a threat, like still a nice ace in the hole, if you will. You know, knowing full well, okay, these guys have to game plan for Stanback and Fletcher, knowing how dangerous those two are. But you throw Antwi in the mix as well. I mean, you know, the Alouettes have so many opportunities to be able to mix things up and just really establish a good ground game if given the opportunity. So I'm really hoping, especially this series against Toronto, this home series, that they find a way to do that, to really reestablish, like give Stanback the confidence again to prove that he is who we think he is, and that is one of the premier backs of this league. Walter Fletcher obviously making a case for himself too. It's like, you know, don't sleep on me either. But yeah, there's still also Jeshwin Antwi. I mean, you give him a chance, he can do great things. So, I mean, talk about an embarrassment of riches when you think about it. I mean, like Trevor Harris, if he doesn't think he can find a receiver, I mean, you know, there's no shame in being able to hand off the rock and just let these guys pound away and just get those first downs. I mean, that is a viable strategy that now opposing coordinators are just going to they have no choice but to start planning for that.
Yep, no, it's true now. And you know, let's talk about the stats here for the game itself, and then we'll talk about the harrowing fourth quarter. You know, Trevor Harris, 19 to 27, a 70% completion percentage, only 241 and just one touchdown. A huge thing too, Bo. Again, Cliff, is no interceptions. A out of the blue pass, which I think was very timely at the time by Dominic Davis. He was able to throw a pass, unexpected, but the smart thing to do at that time. It may have not been a completed pass, but still, it was the right thing to do at the right time, just to throw a little wrinkle into it. Fletcher and Stanback. Stanback led the team with 9 rushes on 34 carries. Excuse me, 9 carries on 34 yards. Fletcher 4 carries, 30 yards. Trevor Harris had 17 yards. Dominic Davis had 11, but that really wasn't the stat for that one. He had 9 carries, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit here because that's where the harrowing part of the fourth quarter occurred. Leading wide receiver for the Alouettes, Tyson Philpot. 7 catches on 10 targets for 76 yards. Gino Lewis had 65 yards on 3 catches. That's a beaut. Walter Fletcher, another 60 yards on 4 catches. Jeshwin Antwi, 2 for 20. KJG, 2 for 12. And Jake Winicky, 1 for 8. Nick Arbuckle, by the way, 20 to 36, 271 and 2 touchdowns. Their leading rusher was Jackson Bennett with 55 yards, and their leading receiver was Justin Hardy. Quelle surprise! Over the last couple of weeks, we talked about this already. 93 yards, 12 targets. That was one of the frustrating things because the dude was catching everything. But yeah, I don't know where else to go from there. I mean, obviously we had the huge strip and, you know, scoop and score, and then we had that strip on the last play of the game, which helped the Owls, you know, seal the game. But thoughts, Cliff, on how these stats stand out to you?
Let's not forget Chandler Worthy. He didn't get a house call, but my goodness, did he ever put Montreal in great field position?
Yeah,
numerous times.
Yeah,
I mean, this is a guy that, once again, you got to really prepare for him because you know he can break one off, and he hasn't done that in a while. But he still managed to put Montreal in very favorable field conditions, and that's huge. Like that's a big win for the special teams. And we've talked about this in the past of like the woes of special teams until guys like Mario Alford came along, and now with what Chandler Worthy's been able to do for the Alouettes, I mean, it's just like this team. You almost don't want to kick to these guys, but you kind of don't have a choice.
No, 172 total return yards for Chandler this week. So
I mean that's phenomenal. Yeah, that's. Again, this is the kind of thing you have no choice but to prepare for. Like there are certain guys you don't want to kick to on opposing teams, and I think it's safe to say that Chandler Worthy is definitely on everybody else's list as, we do not want to kick to this guy, and sometimes you just don't have a choice, especially if he's the only returner back there.
No, I agree.
Try for the Rouge.
Yeah. And it seemed that the past couple of weeks it is consistent Trevor. A high percentage rate. Not necessarily all that many yards. I mean, 241 is fine. Yeah, again, no interceptions, which is good. It's
one touchdown. I mean,
yeah, wrinkles thrown in, and we got touchdowns other ways too, because that you don't score. You have a quarterback who doesn't throw that many touchdowns. You need to score some other points, and obviously with getting 34, we had other ways to do it. So I mean, again, Owls were down 11 early and came back to win this game. So that's a huge plus. My thought goes to what I was talking about, mentioning before, is the 11 rushing attempts by Dominic Davis. The Alouettes short yardage team came into this game. I think it was a stat that they mentioned on the broadcast. They came in with a perfect 21 for 21. Yeah. Third down alone, which is absolutely horrible. They were a grand total of 5 for 8 on third down, but those missed opportunities almost cost the Alouettes the game.
And you think about it, like that still counts as a turnover. Like turnover on downs still counts as a turnover, and that's, I mean, you got to win the turnover battle, and it's remarkable. Like both these teams were doing a great job turning over the ball. The only difference is Montreal's turnovers were not so bad. It wasn't because someone made a mistake or Ottawa's defense was able to get the better of them. It was just these unfortunate circumstances. But especially in the second half, like Ottawa just wasn't able to capitalize very much, or they were settling for field goals. And again, you almost can't beat the Alouettes with field goals too. And I actually kind of funny, like at one point there was a drive downfield, and once again, I don't get why teams, when you're pretty much first and second in goal and even third in goal, why would you settle for a 10-yard field goal if you're Bob Dice? You're trying to prove, you want to give confidence to your team. You want to show that you believe in them. Why not go for it? Worst case scenario, if they didn't get the touchdown and they have to turn the ball over on downs, Montreal is starting really, really deep in their own end. To settle for a field goal, again, we've seen this before, and we even saw it at Thanksgiving where Machocha opted for the field goal instead of going for it on 3rd and 4. Mm-hmm. And it bit him in the ass. And unfortunately, this past Friday, going for that field goal, I think kind of bit Bob Dice in the ass, because Alouettes were able to storm back and chew up enough clock. And despite, as you said, all these short yardage shenanigans, managed to find the way down and score the touchdown that would put them ahead and keep them ahead.
I know, and saying this as a talking head, though, I mean, it's easy to say that how can they not make a 3rd and 1? It boggles my mind in the CFL when teams don't. I mean, okay, I can understand maybe a 1.5 or a 2. Okay, that I can understand. But we've seen what Dominic Davis can do, especially because he seems to be so shifty when it comes to being able to not necessarily go on center and rush the ball forward, but being able to go off the side. And we saw a little bit of that this week because he almost broke one. So it's just so frustrating when we're so close in this game, and then what's going on? Again, holding Ottawa to that 10-yard field goal with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Scored. Yeah, well, yeah, about 5 minutes left. It's just, that was good, but man, it was just so frustrating. It was like, what, 2 out of 3 drives where we couldn't make it on 3rd down? Just so frustrating.
It is. And I guess the only positive, if you want to take that as a positive, is that Ottawa wasn't able to do a whole lot either towards the end of the game. I mean, it wasn't for lack of effort, because they'd make plays, but when it came to actual scoring, like, yeah, you're settling for field goals. And again, you got to be thinking end zone. You got to, especially Ottawa, like, they've really got nothing to lose, and they still are not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs.
That's crazy. That's so crazy.
If somehow they were able to get the win against Montreal in Ottawa, I mean, one, they would have broken that lengthy streak of theirs. Mm-hmm. Not as lengthy as the Edmonton Elks streak, but they do have to get off the schneid at home. If they could have done that, like that would have really helped their playoff push. But it just, when it was all said and done, it really came down to Montreal wanting it just a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I mean, the back and forth and getting the fans excited, getting them hyped for it. I mean, I will say that the crowd was really, you could tell that the fans, I think, were finally feeling like they got their money's worth out of this game. They were excited. They were loud. They were loud at the right times too. Like we've always kind of joked about how they seem to make noise on offense more than defense. But I think they finally got it. Like maybe now they finally feel like they had something to cheer for. They finally felt like this team could possibly do something. They could probably pull off the upset and really make Montreal's life miserable. But you know, I mean, credit to our nation. They definitely came out and they definitely made the noise at the right time. And I don't think too many people, I think people were disappointed that they lost because, again, that does put a damper on their slim playoff hopes, but they had to feel like they got their money's worth. They had to feel like they were entertained at least.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
At least I hope so.
I think it was a good back and forth. I mean, there were quite a few Alouettes fans there, too, in Ottawa, so it was... we were outnumbered, but still, when the Alouettes scored, and it's funny, I think near the end, too, I think the Alouettes fans were trying to make noise. Even though Ottawa was on offense. By the way, still have to give props, by the way. I guess, even with the issues that we had this week with the short yardage, got to give props to Dominic Davis, who tied an Alouettes record for most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in a single season. He tied the team record of 12, which is held, or he's now currently tied with Vernon Adams. And this record was set back in 2019. So it's very possible over the next two games that if he gets going, it's Dominic Davis may become the all-time record holder for the Alouettes. And if he keeps pace with Caleb Evans, because right now Caleb leads the league in rushing touchdowns by a QB. Both of those two quarterbacks are very close to actually tying the league record, which is held by Doug Flutie. And there's another one I can't remember off the top of my head now. But that's at 14. So, hey, anything's happened over the next two games. But either way, congrats.
Yeah, so, I mean, Dominic's got two games to do it. I have to think with how Montreal's offense has been, the fact that Trevor Harris can get the team to the red zone, but doesn't always quite get the job done. But if he can get them at least first and goal and give Dominic a chance to get in there and put that big 6'4" frame to use, he could be the new record holder, which, he's in pretty good company now, tied with VA. But you got to think that if nothing else, that'll help strengthen his case, to show that, hey, listen, I've got a role on this team, and this is it. Like I'm here to help this team. I'm here to score touchdowns and help put points on the board. And believe me, it's definitely something that the Alouettes need, and hopefully he'll have the opportunity to do it, especially too, like this coming Saturday in front of his hometown fans. Like that would be fantastic to break that record at home would be pretty tremendous. Exactly.
Last couple of stats here before we move on to news and notes leading up to the preview for the game on Saturday. Owls did very well when it came to penalties. Cliff, only 7 for 64 yards. To me, that's reasonable. What else? Red zone. Hey, we were 2 for 3. Hell of a lot better than the week before, and it actually showed quite well. So I was very happy with that. And I think there was one other stat I wanted to cause this always seems to be, it's just mind-boggling. It is third downs. We did 22 second downs. I'm trying to find the actual stats here. Anyways, again, stat-wise, the Owls did quite well. They did what they needed to do. No turnovers except for those 2 that were via turnover on downs. But still, Cliff, I think it's very positive going into the game versus Toronto this week. So
yeah, no, I mean, when you ask like how did the Alouettes win, like this truly was, when you think about it, a true team effort. Like it took everybody. Like everybody had to play a role in this victory. And like there was no one outstanding player. There was not one person that really was like head and shoulders above everyone else. It felt like there was a whole bunch of guys that had great moments and did what they needed to do to make sure that the Alouettes got away with the W. And I mean, like whether you're talking about offense, defense, even special teams, like this team played a complete game. It was not pretty by any stretch of the imagination. Let's not kid ourselves. There was a lot of times where I just felt like, do they even want this? Like that's, there's just like that doubt that like, do they even want to be in the playoffs? Because they're not playing like a team that wants to be in the playoffs, but they got it figured out. And I think that's really what it comes down to is they got to get things figured out, and they seem to do it, later rather than sooner. But you know what? As I said, at the end of the day, they got the W.
Yeah.
And they got the X next to their name.
That's right. 9 of 23 on second down. It's just shy less of 40%. I don't know what you would consider to be a decent number. I guess I'd say in the 40s. If you can get within the 40s for second down conversions, I think you're doing well. By the way, one quick note that I wanted to ask you about. Mm-hmm. What do you think of Tyson Philpot's first game at slot back? I think we have a winner, buddy. I really do.
I mean, let's not kid ourselves. I mean, losing Reggie White Jr. to a knee injury is brutal. I mean, he was definitely a huge contributor, but we knew the potential that Tyson Philpot had coming into this game. We knew what he's been able to do all season. Like, he, as far as I'm concerned, head and shoulders above everybody else as far as like most outstanding rookie nomination, mm-hmm. especially in the Eastern Division. He came to play, and play he did. I mean, that was just incredible work. And you could tell that he'd been talking about he and his twin brother Jalen, they seem to have this sibling rivalry, so to speak. Like, nothing mean or anything like that, but like you could tell that they're trying to hype each other up, like trying to see, okay, oh, you did this against the Red Blacks, well, let me show you what I can do against the BC Lions, or vice versa. Like, there's this competition to see who is the better, quote unquote, Philpot brother. But yeah. I mean,
and we almost had a thing too where both.
Call me biased, but I
go. You're biased. But I was going to say, we almost had a thing where it was both Philpot brothers led their team in receiving yards this week, but it was just Jalen just couldn't get over that hump. Yeah,
no, it's incredible. Like, watching both of these guys play and seeing what they've been able to do for their respective teams is outstanding. And I'm a little biased, but I think we got just a little bit better Philpot with Tyson. I mean, he's just been outstanding, great attitude. I mean, he's come to work, and you can tell he's just so excited. And you can see that this team is trying very hard to get him involved in the offense as much as possible. And you can tell that he's ready for it. Like, I don't think the moment is too big for him. Like, he's not out there like a deer in the headlights. Like, what the heck? What do I do? Like, he comes prepared each and every game. And it's just a matter of Trevor's just got to find him. If somehow Philpot's open, you got to find him, because we all know Philpot's got wheels, thanks to Christian Matt, but Philpot's got hands too. He made a couple of beautiful catches.
No, I know.
And just moved the chains. Like this kid, like 22 years old, and he's just, we haven't even begun to scratch the surface of what this guy can do.
Having him in there this week versus Toronto, I think is going to be big, because it's another, it can take some pressure off of Gino, knowing that you have, I mean, first and foremost, 3 Canadian wide receivers on the field at one time. What? And then on top of that, again, on top of that, Gino, Tyson, Jake,
KJG.
Yeah. I mean, putting him at slot back was genius. Hopefully it works. It will, I'm curious to see what's going to happen this week on Saturday, but we'll talk about more about that in a little bit.
I know, just the fact that we've got these great Canadian receivers. And I still remember when the CFL draft was going on, and we took Tyson in the first round. I'm like, okay, like, I'm not mad at the choice, but I'm like, yeah. So does this mean that there's going to be more of a focus on the national receiver, something that Montreal hasn't been able to do in, well, ever? Like, mm-hmm. This is incredible. And then you see what Hergy Mael has been able to do this season. And now seeing Tyson Philpot emerge the way he has. I mean, alongside of KJG, I mean, holy cow, we've got some pretty damn good Canadian receivers, and like, they're a focal point of the offense if you let them be. Like, this is great.
Exactly.
This is something I could not have predicted a year ago, even. Like, just to see them get involved in the offense like this and being given opportunities to shine. And I mean, credit to the Alouettes for taking a chance, rolling the dice with these guys, and so far it's paying off pretty good.
Yep. And now, as promised, as we did on social media, hyped it up a little bit. We hope you are ready for the interview. We're going to be chatting with wide receiver Tyson Philpot, and when we get back, we got news and notes for the Alouettes. And with us on the show this week is, for sure, one of the most up-and-coming wide receivers in the Canadian Football League right now, and he's only a rookie. On the line with us now is wide receiver for the Montreal Alouettes, number 81, Tyson Philpot. Hey, Tyson, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I'm happy to join the show.
I want to ask you the first thing that I know, or at least that I've read recently about you, Tyson, is that how much does it tick you off that your brother is seven minutes older than you?
Yeah, no, that definitely he gets considered the older brother, so I definitely don't like being the younger brother to him. But I think anyone that knows us closely knows that's truly nothing, and we're pretty similar. So it does get me, but it's all good.
Yeah, it was so close last week, and I was hoping it was going to occur. Obviously, with you leading the way for the Alouettes in receiving yards last week, your brother Saint came so close also, and I was like, I so want to ask the league office, is this the first time that two twin brothers, or rather brothers or twin brothers, have led their teams respectively in receiving yards? But it didn't happen, so I guess we'll have to wait, right?
Yeah, we will. Yeah, unfortunately, I got it, but Jalen was close. I looked at the stat line. He had a good all-purpose game.
Yeah,
they got him involved in the returns and some running back stuff. But I won in the receiving category, I guess.
Looking back at your career, before your time with the Montreal Alouettes, obviously, some people try to look at similarities between, guys that come up through the NCAA ranks versus guys that come up through the U Sport rank. As yourself who went through the U Sport way, what do you find that there are differences between playing in U Sport versus, say, that maybe a wide receiver that has gone through the NCAA?
Yeah, I mean, personally, going through the U Sports, I found that the Canadian game, just knowing that the CFL is like the feeder from U Sports, just being able to play that game would help me develop my game playing Canadian sport, and versus going through NCAA. Like, I know you have the NFL aspect, and that's the top goal, but if you want to grow the Canadian game, I kind of felt like that would be best going through Calgary and through the Canadian game. But I would just say the fastness is something that is different in NCAA, with the 3 downs and having to throw the ball so much. It changes. It's a different aspect.
Did you ever play 4-down football in high school? Because I personally don't know. I think it differs throughout the country when it comes to which high schools may play 3 versus 4 downs. But have you been playing 3-down football your entire career?
I started off 3-down football in community, and that went till about high school. And once I was in grade 8, BC football actually plays American, just because we're so close to the border. And I actually got a few exhibition games against some Seattle teams. And that was cool to get some games against them and that kind of competition. But I'm not sure about other provinces if they play American or Canadian.
Okay. I know you've been playing football since you've been a young kid. Obviously, everybody who knows your last name knows your dad and what he did with the BC Lions. And what got you into football itself? I mean, obviously, when your dad won the Grey Cup, you hadn't been born yet. I mean, was it something where you saw his Grey Cup ring? It inspired you? Was it a combination of that and how your dad did in the CFL? What pushed you into football?
Yeah, honestly, I can't remember an exact moment or reason what just sparked football for me, but just the earliest memory I have is just playing football with my brother. We'd always watch on the VHS tapes videos of my dad and highlights of him in the Grey Cup, and just listening to like Philpot and that kind of stuff from the announcers just kind of got us going. And we'd always be around football. I mean, my dad was a football coach through community and the junior ranks, and he was just always around football, and we'd always be there on the sidelines tackling each other and doing little Oklahoma drills. And all the guys would always say that they always thought we were going to be football players one day. So I think it was just being around it. And I thank my dad for that for sure. Yeah.
I'm seeing here that, before you through high school and then you were being recruited by U Sport teams, were you actually recruited by multiple U Sport football teams?
Yeah, I was blessed to receive multiple offers from quite a few different U Sport schools in Canada, and I actually used all 5 of my university visits to kind of explore the country and see where I wanted to pursue university. And yeah, it just so happened that Calgary was the best fit. And I enjoyed being kind of on the West Coast still and being able to travel home. And my mom was able to come to every single university pretty much game, and she was a big supporter.
Just so other university followers can be jealous, what were the other teams that reached out to you before you chose Calgary?
My top 5 schools that I kind of narrowed it down to were Carleton University, BC, University of British Columbia. Regina was in there for sure, and I liked Saskatchewan as well. They were in that conversation as well.
That's cool.
So definitely Canton West was going to be the option.
Yeah, and Canton West, as everybody who follows U Sport, is obviously one of the stronger divisions, I guess we can say, in U Sports, next to Quebec and the others, and then the Ontario League too. So, was it a no-brainer after as you said, after looking at Calgary and deciding to play for the Dinos?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, knowing who Rashawn Simonides is and what he did at the University of Calgary, and just knowing how high-powering of an air raid offense it was with Adam Sinegra there. And, I mean, I knew who Jeshurun was as well, who plays for the Alouettes. So it was kind of a no-brainer. And the offensive coordinator there at the time, I had a very good bond with as well.
Mm-hmm. And you were so close to being a teammate with Rashawn's also. I think you just missed it by a year, but still, that's cool. That's really neat.
Yeah.
Cliff?
Yeah.
Question: when it came to choosing the receiver position, did you and Jalen decide that on your own, or was there any thought of maybe following in your dad's footsteps and becoming a running back, or is it just strictly receiver for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, when we were really young, Jalen was actually a quarterback and I was a running back. It was just the easiest way to get each other the ball, and we kind of it was going to one of us, so we'd fake it to one and go the other. But as we grew up, I made the transition to receiver pretty quickly, I would say, as soon as I was in community football. And Jalen actually was a running back. Up until university, he played running back all through high school, and he was getting a couple offers at running back through university, but they kind of just felt he was a little undersized, and that's when he decided to make the transition to receiver. But yeah, I stayed at receiver. So we kind of didn't really talk about it, but I mean, I guess maybe when he made the transition, he would kind of watch some of the stuff I did, but I've been receiver longer.
And that to just foster the competition between you guys, like the friendly competition, of course, but obviously you guys will push each other to the limits for sure.
Very, very competitive.
And to this day, I imagine you guys must still use each other as benchmarks as to, okay, well, Jalen did this, so I got to do that, or Tyson did this, no, I got to do that, right?
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure he does the same as me. After my game and his game, I'll check his stats, and he'll probably check mine to see who did better, who's leading this week, or vice versa. I'm sure of it.
Talk about the both of you going to the combine earlier this year. I know you guys both came in with a lot of hype, and you had even said to us that you felt your numbers were not the greatest. But talk to us about that experience of what you guys went through in the combine.
No, yeah, the combine was definitely a fun experience. Growing up, you're dreaming of the combine and that opportunity to showcase your talents in front of all the coaches and just the whole event. It has a lot of hype. But yeah, there was some talk about our 40 times and that kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, I knew football at the end of the day was what you had to produce, and that's where you had to show up, regardless of testing numbers and that kind of stuff. I definitely wish I could have put better numbers up, but I'm definitely happy what happened with the draft and where I ended up. But overall, the experience was definitely great, and it was a dream come true to be invited there and showcase my talents. And I still think it was a fine day, just not my best.
Mm-hmm. And when during the combine process, did you speak at all with the Alouettes? Like, did they give any indication that there was any interest in you?
Yeah, I talked to the Alouettes before actually the combine, and then I did not talk to them during the recruit interview process at the combine. So I wasn't sure exactly if they were interested in me and still, but I knew on draft day when they gave me a call saying that I was a high priority for them, as well, my brother got that call as well, that there's a very good chance that we could get drafted there. And just knowing Coach Kahari and just his ties with the BC Lions, and he knows my dad respectively as well, and Coach Machocha as well, playing against him in the Vanier.
I was going to say he had a pretty much a front row seat to know what you were capable of doing. So that had to have been on his mind during the combine process.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad because he's a great coach, and I'm glad to be on the team.
All right, and finally on draft day, you and Jalen both get the call. Does it irk you just a little bit that Jalen got the call first? I mean, not by much, but he did technically beat you in that regards.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you only get one draft day, and to lose to your brother, of course, is definitely hurt. But no, at the end of the day, I was just blessed to get drafted and to get the opportunity to play pro football, which has always been a dream of mine. And I'll always, I guess, be known as the second one off the board. But at the end of the day, it comes down to production. So we'll see at the end of the race who's at the start or who's in front.
And it's all about the rings too. All about the rings too.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love it.
That's true. You won't technically be the first Philpot to have a Grey Cup ring, but you could be the next one, and that's important.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And he only has one, so we got some work to do.
Obviously how we saw you at training camp. I know your training camp did not start off as well as you wanted it to this year. I think you were a little bit dinged up. Going into your very first professional training camp, was it a little bit frustrating how your body was not allowing you to acclimate to the game right there and then, and you had to wait? I think it was, what did you wait approximately 3 weeks before you actually got any action, if I remember correctly? How was your first pro training camp experience?
Yeah, no, definitely getting injured on the first day in literally the first half of the practices was definitely not something I had planned, and was definitely disappointed. But I was just able to. I was out for about, I would say, 2 weeks. I would say 14 days, around there, 10 to 14 days. But we did lots of rehab on the side, and it was kind of sucky just watching from the sideline. Obviously you have a little bit of anxiety thinking you're maybe getting sent back to school, or you're not doing what they drafted you to do. So, but I was just stayed steady with the playbook and let them know that I knew all my assignments, and as soon as I was healthy to come back, I'd be ready to go. And it's exactly what I did when I was healthy enough to go. And I think Coach Lionello talked about that a little bit, but yeah, I was called up to the first team, actually, my first practice back, and I was able to do decently well and just show them that I was staying in my book.
Now, what's it like? You got other national receivers kind of lining up with you, and guys like Herji Mayala and Kayan Julian Grant. Have they been able to? Would you say that they've been a helpful part of your process in learning the game and on the professional level?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'd say we have a really good relationship. We're talking all the time. I look up to Herji and Kayan definitely as big brothers, and just guys I can learn from. And they've been in the league and they've done things. So I'm always asking questions, and they're always giving me good answers, and they help me whenever I need help. And yeah, they've been very supportive.
And you think your role in the offense now, as it relates, like you started out more or less on special teams to kind of get your feet wet, but now that you've been introduced more and more into the offense, do you think you're finding your groove right now, or do you think you've had it all along? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, it's you always need to kind of get that confidence, and that comes when you get a few catches. But I definitely feel comfortable now, and I feel like I have the full trust from Trevor and coaches, and they rely on me just as much as they need to. So I'm definitely ready to make an impact wherever I need to, and just help the team win. That's the end goal for sure, and make a nice run to the playoffs.
And we'll agree with that. We love seeing, Jess, and we'll get to it in a couple of minutes, but just seeing you being able to be slotted in directly into the slot back position this past week, Cliff and I were just foaming at the mouth saying, man, our wide receiving core just got even better. So it's, obviously it was unfortunately at the expense of Reggie White Jr., but still, we're pretty excited, man. When it came, When it came to being a pro for the very first time, obviously coming from U Sport and then playing it now and then the CFL, what was the one thing that worried you the most about becoming a pro? And what was the thing that you had to get used to the most as being a pro?
I would say just coming as a rookie and not knowing what to expect. I was definitely maybe a little bit worried about the playbook. You never know truly how big that professional playbook's going to be compared to your university. You can only hear so much from other people. But I would say that was off of not knowing anything. I would say that was the biggest, and maybe a little bit just knowing that I was going to be pretty young compared to a lot of the other guys in just the competition. But I felt like I was able to blend in right away, and guys saw my talent just as I seen theirs, and I got that respect right away.
Cliff?
All right. Now that you can finally say that you're playoff bound. Talk to us about the game this past Friday. I mean, you lit up the scoreboard, obviously, not points wise, but you led the team in receiving yards. You were all over the place. You were, not only does Philpot have wheels, but Philpot had hands, as we saw with those beautiful catches you made. Talk to us through that game, as especially since now that you're starting slot back, and how did you feel about how it all sort of came together for the game against Ottawa?
Yeah, no, I think we had a very good game plan, and we executed it very well. We knew what we had to attack going into the game, and we knew that we hadn't had too many good games against Ottawa. And knowing that we were going to be down Reggie White as well has been a huge impact on our offense. I knew that I definitely have to step up for him, and I was just happy I was able to get open enough that Trevor was able to find me. And, Gino was making big plays just as Gino always does. And I think our offense is always generates better when we're spreading the ball around. And like you guys said, I think we have the best receiving core in the CFL, and we can go to any guy on our receiving core and they'll get the job done. So I think, just keep spreading the ball around, and we're gonna keep continuing to win.
What was your initial? What was your initial reaction when they told you were going to be at starting slot back?
I was definitely proud. A proud moment for me, definitely, knowing I was going to be able to start my first career game. Of course, had a couple of nerves. I think that comes with it. But I also just kind of felt bad as well, knowing how hard Reggie worked for it too. Mm-hmm. It's not the way you want to earn your starting job, but you also know that it's football, and you got to step up for your guys when you need to. So, but I think I was confident though. I knew I was gonna be able to make an impact.
Yeah, it's the next man up mentality, because last year Reggie came to prominence replacing another receiver who got injured. So unfortunately it's just a matter of being ready when they call your number.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's have some fun, Tyson. Before being drafted by the Alouettes, had you been to Montreal? Did you know anything about Montreal before you came and played for the Alouettes?
I had been kind of to Montreal. We flew to Montreal during the Vanier when we played Montreal, but that was in Quebec City. So we took a bus from Montreal to Quebec City. So that's kind of, I was in Montreal for a couple hours and not really explored anything though.
All right, and now that you're living here, how are you liking it so far?
Oh, I love it. The weather's been getting cold. That's been something I gotta adjust to, just like Calgary. It's a little bit colder in Calgary, I think. But other than that, it's been a very good food city. That's what I heard before I came. I was going to test my appetite for sure. So I've been eating good, and I think the people here are really nice too. So I've enjoyed that part. And I haven't got out to, I'm a big roller coaster guy, so I'm excited to get out to LaRonde. I haven't been able to get out yet, but that was a big excitement when I seen that. But other than that, I think it's been a really cool experience, and I'm excited to kind of stay a little bit in the off season and explore.
Oh, that's awesome. I was actually at LaRonde a couple of weeks ago, and I can tell you it's always a good time. So if you're a thrill seeker, and it sounds like you are, I think you'll enjoy what LaRonde has to offer.
Yeah, I definitely am. So I'm going to get out there for sure.
All right. And you're talking about this being a food city. Is there any particular spots that Tyson Philpot's a big fan of?
Yeah, I would say I've been going to La Capital Tacos. It's in Chinatown. It's really good. I've gone there twice before, back-to-back nights. So I definitely stamp that if I'm gonna give any suggestions.
All right, so a Taco Tuesday guy. I can appreciate that.
Yep, big taco.
All right, what about Poutine? Have you gotten into that yet?
Oh, absolutely. Before even coming to Quebec, I was a big poutine guy. So I haven't. I'm still trying to find a good spot. So if you guys have any suggestions, I have been to the one that everyone kind of talks to, La Banquise, I think it's called.
La Banquise, yes.
Yeah, and I don't know. I wasn't too sold on that one. So unless you guys have some suggestions, I'm still trying to find out the one.
Okay, well, I mean, like that is the place. I mean, it's I think it's kind of bit like Schwartz's. It's becoming a bit more of a touristy spot than an actual gourmand place. But there's definitely some really good places, and I'll be happy to hook you up with a list of places that I think you'd really enjoy. So. I got you. Don't worry about that.
I can say too, Tyson. Do not do the fast food route. Because it's the fast food chains, they really cannot do poutine very well at all. I mean, the only place I would suggest to you, which technically is fast food, but it is a staple here in Quebec that knows how to do it right, is over at La Belle Provence.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I have walked by once or twice, so. I might check that one out.
Yep.
Yeah, they do decent work, but I mean, I obviously, like Tim said, just stay away from the fast food places because those are just hot garbage. So.
Yeah, I don't think they would make a very good poutine.
What's the poutine scene like in Delta? I got to know.
They're okay. I mean, I'm a fan. There's a chain I like to go to. I think it's called what's it called? I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it's like a chain poutine spot that they have. I've seen them in. Oh, it's called Smokey's Poutineery. That's what it is.
I know.
Okay,
I'm not sure if they have. Yeah, and so that's kind of the ones I kind of go to. I'd say they're decently good, but there's no like original Quebec poutine there. Definitely not.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Sometimes you see that when you go out to the rest of Canada, they'll have like Montreal style smoked meat or poutine, something like that. I'm like, okay, that's cute. That's cute. Good try.
Definitely the smoked meat. Definitely the smoked meat.
Now you were talking before about places that you've heard that you want to go to as far as entertainment and stuff like that. Like going over to Larone for the roller coasters. Has any of the guys suggested a place where you have to go in Quebec, whether it be near here, the Laurentian Mountains, Saint-Sauveur, Mont-Tremblant? Have the guys suggested a place to you that they say you have to go and see?
Yeah, I'm a big skier, so I've talked to a couple of the guys about going to Mount Tremblant, and I've heard nothing but good things. And just being in Calgary and being able to go to those mountains over there definitely was something. So I'm curious to see what these kind of mountains are like. But that's definitely somewhere a couple of me and the guys will definitely get up to.
I got a feeling that you're going to find the mountains in Quebec compared to what you have out like Whistler, Blackcomb, and that. It's kind of like how I feel about poutine out on the West Coast. But you tell us. You definitely go check out Tremblant because it is definitely a lot of fun, and let us know what you think. But I'm just giving you a fair warning.
Yeah, honestly, Whistler, I've only been a couple times just because it's so expensive now. But there's okay mountains, I'd say, in like Vancouver. So we'll see. If it's close and it's good, then I'll give it a plus for sure.
Yeah, there are a couple of places that you can try. As I said, you can go to, as I said, Mont Tremblant. There is in Morin Heights, which is only 45 minutes away from Montreal. There's also Morin Heights, which is just a little bit past. But they're everywhere, dude. I mean, and I'm sure for you, it just as long as the powder's good, that's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I care about. Just a nice ride.
Okay, Tyson, it's playoff time, but we got two big games coming up against the Toronto Argonauts. I know you guys are excited about actually getting that home playoff date, which is fantastic, but how badly do you guys want for it to be the Eastern final as opposed to the Eastern semifinal? What steps are you guys taking? What kind of mindset are you guys going into to make sure that you guys are playing in the Eastern final as opposed to the Eastern semifinal?
Yeah, no, definitely. We've been stressing how important this game is. Not having played against Toronto since week 2, I think it was, and just knowing how close we were in that game, and And we didn't feel like we played our best game when we played them our first time too. And just knowing what we're capable of a team, we're definitely just stressing about finishing and just making sure we're on top of and playing our best football. And that's that's playing smart football and not having penalties and just making sure on the offense that we're finishing in the red zone. So I think the importance is high. We definitely want to make sure. I mean, personally, it's my first playoff, so I think having a bye and our first game at home would be really cool, and for the fans especially too. We know how important that is, and we really want to bring a great cup and bring some wins back to the city of Montreal. So I think the team knows, and we're very focused, and we're ready to go out and show it on Saturday.
Oh, I believe it. I think the win last Friday to clinch that playoff spot, I think really helped build that momentum and really helped cement the idea that, yeah, this is a playoff team. So now it's just a matter of going and proving it again. And that's the thing, is you got to prove yourselves again to prove that everybody that we are who we say we are. And I know that mindset is so huge. It's so important. And especially against a team like Toronto, who has been on top of the Eastern Division, I think pretty much the entire season.
Yeah, all year, yeah. No, yeah, they're a very good team, and we know it too. But we know that we can match up and we can play good football just like they can. So we're excited for the game for sure.
How hard is it to not look ahead? Because obviously, as fans, we can only see what you guys say in the media or what we see on television or that type of stuff. But how obviously, I think Coach Mack, they preach go 1-0, just 1-0, 1-0. Don't look ahead. Being your first year as a pro too, how hard is it not to look ahead and just to potentially be, since you have the playoff spot already clinched, but to just stay in the mindset saying we can do better, we can actually be better heading into the playoffs?
Yeah, it's definitely tough. Just knowing the playoffs are kind of starting to get cemented, and just that there's only 3 spots and just the way stuff's kind of working out. But I would say, I have personal experience of looking ahead and not finishing and not accomplishing the end goal that we wanted when we definitely have the team capable of doing it. So I've learned personally, so I feel like I have a good understanding of it. But it's a 1-0 mentality, like you said, and I think our team sees that, and I think we're ready.
Excellent. Well, this has been quite the interview, Tyson. I got to say, I've been so impressed with how you've come along this season, the moves that you've made, the progress you've shown throughout the season, like starting out on special teams and now working your way up into a starting position. It's been a hell of a ride, and it's not even over yet. That's the best part, is there's still so much to go. And even when it comes to your career, there's still so much to go. How exciting is it to be a part of the Alouettes, knowing full well how your career is going and where it's trending right now?
It's so exciting. Just knowing the history behind the team. And I was telling Coach AC today that I was a sneaky Montreal fan when I was younger. They always had the nicest jerseys I felt in the CFL. So just knowing what I can be a part of and just knowing what our team is capable of doing is just amazing. And I'm excited to start on Saturday and just keep building on it and hopefully just keep going to the playoffs.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I got to tell you, man, I will be stunned, absolutely stunned, if you are not the Eastern nominee for a most outstanding rookie this year. The way you've progressed this year has been absolutely outstanding. And as far as I'm concerned, you are head and shoulders above anybody else in the East and possibly even the entire CFL.
I appreciate that. No, I definitely was a goal of mine to just put my best foot forward in my rookie season. I'm just ready to keep doing it for however long I play this fun game.
There you go.
Before we let you
said it better.
Yeah. Before we let you go, Tyson, obviously we want people to be able to follow you on social media and stuff like that. If they wanted to follow you, I know you're on Twitter, I know you're on Instagram, but if fans don't know where to follow you, where can they follow you at? Yeah,
it's just it's pretty simple. I think my Twitter and my Instagram are the same. It's just at Tyson Philpot, and my pages are all public. So I'd love the follows and follow back for sure.
There you go, folks. Done deal. You know his name. Follow him on Instagram. Follow him on Twitter. Get behind this kid. I'm telling you, he's going to the moon, and you want to be along for the ride. Tyson, thank you so much for joining us here on the flight deck. Can't wait to see you on Saturday. Can't wait to see you guys do your thing. And listen, it's playoff time. How can you not be excited about that?
Yep. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys sending me the invite to be on the show, and can't wait to give you guys a little show on the weekend.
For a rookie, Cliff, very impressed, because I can only imagine how tough it is for you to come into, you've been playing football for basically what is all of your life, and you are now a integral part of the pro football team that you're playing for. I'm just so impressed on this young man and where he's going.
Without question, his poise, his confidence, and at the same time, still sounding very humble. Like he knows he's a second generation talent in this league. Also, too, with his twin brother playing as well. I mean, it's it can be a lot for a lot of people, but I think if Tyson's nervous or worried or anything like that, he's not showing it. Like he comes across very calm, very as I said, humble, but at the same time, like he's confident in his abilities, and you can't help but like that. Like he's really grown into his role here in Montreal, and it just blows my mind. He's 22 years old, and he's got so much ahead of him. Like we haven't even scratched the surface of what we're going to see from this guy, and he's just been impressive like pretty much from the get-go. Like he came as advertised for this team, and I'm so excited to see what he can do over the over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. We're just so thankful to have him on this team. Folks, give him a follow. Be excited. Like if you're going to hitch your wagon to a young superstar, this is the one.
Yeah, I agree with you. And hey, again, as I said, follow him. And hey, if you don't already, get a ticket for the game this Saturday, because it's going to be a fun show. So one thing I was actually happy about, Cliff, and we've been lucky to be able to have certain experiences given to us being Alouette fans, being Alouette season ticket holders, etc. One of the first things that we got to actually experience this time around was the Red Blacks fans on the field experience, which was really, really cool. Very similar to what you can get in Montreal. I mean, there are a few minor differences. I mean, for those of you Alouette fans who have been on the field before, I mean, you don't need passes to get on the field because it's open to everybody. There don't seem to be any restrictions, and there's a time limit, which I think is actually pretty ingenious. So I think it's a 30-minute time limit that you're able to go on the field, do whatever you want to do, talk to players, get autographs, just play on the field if necessary. And, while we were there, again, we were able to talk to a few of the Alouettes, to congratulate them. Ran into Herb Zurkowski, got to talk to him because I hadn't seen him in a little bit. And it was just a matter of, and Cam, also can't forget Cam, the guy who happens to run the boutique over there for the Red Blacks. But it was, I would say, Cliff, if you don't get to experience it in Montreal for whatever reason, and my hope, obviously, is, as I put out on social media, my plea to Alouettes president Mario Cecchini is the following. Use this as a great example for what the Alouettes can do in 2023 and beyond to become more fan-friendly. Why not allow fans to come on the field, sans pass? Don't worry about it, because there don't seem to be any issues when it comes to how many people are allowed on the field. It still seems, it seems to be a great idea. And, again, I know, Cliff, you've been able to go on the field with the Alouettes over at Percival Molson, but your thoughts on their initiative there in Ottawa?
No, it's really cool. I mean, I think it's great for Red Blacks fans to be able to go on the field afterwards, win or lose. I mean, I think people really enjoy that experience, be able to get on the same playing field they just saw their favorite team on. It's cool for opposing fans because, you get to interact too with your players too a little bit as much as possible. And the way they've got it set up, I will admit, is pretty great. Like on the scoreboard, they pretty much put a clock there and it counts down saying, as you said, Tim, I think they'll give you about a half hour to go on the field and do what you want to do there and, have some fun with it. And then after that 30 minutes is up, the security will come along and gently escort you towards the exits. And, with the whole, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here idea.
I thought it was pretty funny.
I definitely think
it was like a wall of security guys, but that's what it looked like to me. But it was done really well. Nobody, it's like 30 minutes, guys. Thanks for coming. Hope to see you at the next game type of thing.
Yeah. And it's got to be great too for players too. Just, even after a loss too, I'm sure like Red Blacks players are obviously happy to see their families after the game, and get those congratulations and thanks from fans as well. I mean, it's a very cool experience, and it's something that I don't see why each and every team doesn't do it like that. I mean, to me, it would really open things up. It's definitely something the NFL doesn't do and would never entertain the idea of.
No.
But for a league like the CFL, which prides itself on being so fan-friendly and so open with the players and the fans interacting with each other, I mean, yeah, I don't see why every team doesn't allow that. Like, just, say, as you said, like 30 minutes after the game, let everybody on. And then, when the time limit hits, then you politely escort them to the door and make sure they, had a good time, and, make sure to welcome them back to the next game and so on. I mean, this, I can understand for security purposes why the Alouettes operate on a system where you have to have a pass. But, I mean, why not just open it up to everybody? Like, make that part of the fan experience. Make it part of the experience of going to see a game at Percival Molson, is knowing that you watched the game. Hopefully it was a great game. And then if you can get on the field afterwards and get to interact with the players, even for just a little bit, to me, like, that's a win-win. And Ottawa's got it down. They've got it down. Fans, no matter what, I'm sure there hasn't been a whole lot to cheer for Ottawa the past couple of years, but the fact that they've been able to do this again, because I know they didn't do it in 2021 because of COVID, obviously, but the fact that they were allowing fans back on the field again has to be a huge win for them. And I'm sure fans definitely appreciate the fact that they can go on the field afterwards still and have that moment with players, and to be able to experience things from a player's perspective as far as being on the very same football field. So yeah, to me, I would say, like, yes, the Alouettes should be doing something similar to this, and quite frankly, every CFL team, no matter where they are, should be allowing their fans that kind of access, that kind of closeness with the players that are there, and just experience something like that would be a tremendous win for every single CFL team. So I sincerely hope in 2023 that other teams follow suit and make something like that happen. Like, give something back to the fans, that you want the fans to come back to each and every game. To me, that's a great way of doing it. That's a great way of letting fans know that they are appreciated, that they're not just money pits for football teams like that. We care about you. We want you to care about these players, and we want you to come back to each and every game, because you'll have that experience over and over again. To me, like, that makes a lot of sense. So here's hoping in 2023 that more teams follow suit with this. In fact, I hope all 9 teams. Yep. I do. Make this a reality.
I think Ottawa's doing it right. I really do. I think somebody reached out to me also. I think Winnipeg's doing something similar to this too. I don't know the full rules and regulations to it, but I mean, just let everybody on. Just let everybody on. That's you want to be the most one of the most fan friendly teams in sports. There you go, buddy. There you go. Darius Pickett.
You know what? Do you know how much? Hold on.
Yeah.
Do you know how much it costs to do that? Do you know how much it costs a team to do that? $0.00.
There you go. There you go.
Like
you already have security there. You already have security there. You already pay. So
you got security there. They're already earning their keep there. I mean, as long as they make sure people aren't too rowdy and anything like that. Which again, that's what you pay security guards for.
Yeah.
I mean, and most people are just going to bugger off and go home, and that's fine. If they want to go home, they can go home. But if they want to have that experience, let them do it. I'm telling you, it costs nothing, and it creates such a value for fans. Like I said, I'm sure there's a lot of people, if they've experienced it for the first time, were probably blown away, really excited, like, yeah, I want to come back. Next time the Red Blacks are playing, I'm going to be there because I want to experience this again. This is so cool.
Yeah, I'll do it too.
Like,
I'll do it too.
Like, opposing fans.
Yeah. And yeah, I'll do it again. Once the Alouettes are there again, I'll do it again. So
exactly. So I mean, like I said, this is something that, like, for CFL fans saying, well, it costs money to do this, costs money to do that. Well, guess what? This costs $0.00 to do, but the return on investment is almost immeasurable. Yeah, it is well worth it. So
yeah, I agree.
If you want to bring the fans back, if you want to get people excited, this is the way to do it.
Darius Pickett was rewarded this week, Cliff, as being named one of the players this week in the CFL. Obviously, well deserved. With his, he had 10 defensive tackles, 1 on special teams, and obviously that huge forced fumble that he returned for a 16-yard touchdown in the first quarter. I did not know this. I guess I haven't been reading it. I had no clue that Matt Dunnigan, Marshall Ferguson, and Pierre Vercheval make that choice for the Players of the Week. I had no clue. I guess, where have I been?
Well, it's written in every press release, so maybe you got to read the whole thing.
That's what takes me for not, that. Yeah, there we go. For me not reading every press release.
How do you sit and break down stats the way you do, and you don't read that?
Well, yeah, I know. Bad, Tim.
Not enough numbers for you, Tim? Is that what it is?
Too many words. It's
too many letters, not enough numbers?
Exactly. Exactly. Big news this week. Something that I don't think it really is much of a surprise. I saw what first I saw was the picture that the Alouettes put out for their promo for the 5 reasons to come to the game this week. It's like, wait a minute, why is this an SJ? Why was this an SJ picture? SJ Green picture? Well, yes, I did read the entire thing, and then the press release came out. SJ Greencliff is signing a 1-day contract and is going to be retiring as a member of the Alouettes. Very well deserved. Second player already this year to be doing just this thing. But to see SJ back in town is going to be so much fun to see him, end his career as a Montreal Alouette.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Unfortunately, he did not play his entire CFL career in Montreal. He did kind of escape to go play with the Argos and win a Grey Cup there for them, but he did win 2 Grey Cups for Montreal, and he arguably had a lot of great success as a member of the Alouettes. So for him to come back here and kind of close that chapter of his career to retire as a member of the Alouettes is really great. I mean, I could sit for hours and talk about SJ Green, how impactful of a player he was, how much he meant to those back-to-back Grey Cup championship teams.
Yep. And
just phenomenal. Like the stuff this guy was able to do on the field is just jaw-dropping.
Yeah, and he's on our wish list, obviously, for a future guest. That he's on our wish list for sure. And by the way, you're talking about reasons to remember SJ Cliff. How about what has to be one of the best all-time catches in CFL history, that catch in the Canada Day game in 2010?
Oh, I mean, the game itself was just, instant classic. But I mean, I think that was the exclamation point, that 2-point convert that they had to get just to keep overtime going. And I honestly thought AC overthrew him. But no, I guess there's no such thing as overthrowing SJ Green, because wow, to use his body the way that he did and just somehow stay in bounds for it to count, unfreaking believable. Like I will never forget the first time I saw that. I dropped F-bombs like it was crazy. Like I lost my let me tell you, folks.
Yeah, it's one of those plays. Yeah, it's one of those plays that you remember where you were when you saw it.
And my goodness, has SJ ever gotten so much mileage out of that? I mean, you see the highlight reels. He actually released a cap from New Era featuring that pose of his, that outstretched pose on a hat. And someone actually tweeted on Twitter today. So someone actually got their arm that pose tattooed on their arm.
I know, crazy. I saw it. It's beauts. It really is, man.
Oh my goodness. So I mean, like, don't tell me that SJ Green is not an impact player. When someone is getting that inked on their arm, I mean, you've made it. In fact, even SJ was like, "Where did you get that done? I will do that this weekend." So I don't know if this was done in a Montreal tattoo parlor, but I mean, if that tattoo artist is listening, I think you got a customer lying in wait. So
yeah, I'd actually missed SJ's response on social. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he was hype. He was like, wow. I think I can only imagine his reaction. And SJ is one of those cool cats too. Like like he doesn't strike me as one of those guys that gets like super hyped over something. But I had to imagine, like, just when you opened up his phone and he saw that, he had to have been losing his mind that someone actually went to the trouble of getting that tattooed on themselves. Incredible.
Yep,
so
I agree.
And again, the fact that SJ would make catches like that and just make all kinds of plays happen. I mean, listen, as I said, we could talk about SJ for hours, and I'm hoping that we will have the opportunity to do that and have him on the show to talk about moments like this, and to know that he's going to be in Montreal. He's going to sign his 1-day contract and hopefully get that the crowd to salute him one more time and be able to say thank you again for everything. Man, I'm excited. I was already excited for the game this Saturday, but even more excited knowing that SJ Green is going to be there to properly say goodbye to Montreal and thank everybody for such an outstanding career.
Agreed. And also, if you don't have goosebumps already, you're going to get them pregame because we have our annual CF-18 plane flyover.
Oh man!
And I know people who've gone to Grey Cup, and we know what we're talking about. In any other city where you've done it too, where they just fly by, it just goes through your body and it just gets you hyped, man. So, the Alouettes have already been been promoting this, that it is going to be occurring. So don't freak out, but it is going to be occurring. But yeah, I can't. Now, is this going to be, because they didn't make any official announcement for it. I mean, usually when we have the flyover, it's usually a military appreciation day. Yeah, they haven't said anything about this.
Not officially, no. So I guess they realized, okay, well, we haven't done a flyover and we haven't really had so I don't know if they're going to try and shoehorn that into, because they had fan appreciation day already, and we're getting a playoff game. So, I mean, it's not the last game of the year at Percival Molson Stadium, but I guess, well, they got to figure it out somehow. They're like, oh, the hell with it. Just fly over for this game or whatever.
Yeah.
Who needs a reason?
It's almost it's a yearly tradition, too. It's a yearly tradition for Montreal, too. Tailgate's back, obviously. We had it last week with the last home game with Thanksgiving Day game. $5 tickets for kids. It's another Family Day game. Have they made any announcements yet on where they are with tickets? Because, man, as I said, 2 weeks ago, we need to get over 21K. We need to get 22K. We need to get 20. We need to get close to whatever capacity is now currently at Percival Molson.
Well, I'm really hoping now that the Alouettes have clinched the playoff spot, and now that we know that there's going to be a playoff game at Percival Molson in November, I hope that fans will flock, and maybe even with the announcement of SJ Green being back to retire officially as an Alouette, I'm hoping that will give a bump as well to anyone that's kind of on the fence about going to the game. I mean, it's a Saturday game, so I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there's no excuse not to go. It's Saturday afternoon. I mean, the weather might be a little chilly, but you know what? You wear a sweater. You wear a jacket.
It's supposed to be 18 degrees at kickoff.
Oh, okay. Then there's no excuse. Get your ass to the stadium and watch the Alouettes. They need your help, people.
So yeah. Because it was chilly. It was chilly in Ottawa, I will admit. But yeah, if it's 18 at kickoff, I can't complain, dude. I can't complain at all.
My God, I mean that's beautiful. I mean for late October, that is fan-freaking-tastic.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So I mean, there's a lot of good reasons to come to this game, and I sincerely hope that once again the Alouettes break that 20K mark and go beyond. I mean, I would love to see an honest-to-goodness sellout at this game.
I would love to, too. I really would. A few, as we're taping, there actually were a few changes on the roster itself. Jerry Howard Jr. was signed on the 18th and was placed on the active roster, but then was placed on the suspended list. So maybe he can't get here in time. I don't know. It's so confusing when it comes to these things on the CFL transactions page. And we also picked up Jacob. Is it Jacob Zott?
Jacob Zott, yes.
Yeah, O lineman from McMaster. He was placed. It looked like he was placed on the practice roster just based on what the action was. So. Because usually if somebody gets cut, it's not listed as add to free agent. It's usually listed as removed, signed, then free agent.
Mm. So. Right. And let's not forget, this is also a national O-lineman. So that's one of those things, especially going into the playoffs, that you don't want to be caught short, especially with the injury to Sean Jameson, who is a national player. I know the Alouettes had to do a little bit of wiggling and jiggling to make the ratio work, especially with Philpot taking over for Reggie White.
Yeah,
you gotta get creative with the roster. So I mean, now you've got to find a way to replace Sean Jameson, which again, easier said than done. But doesn't hurt to have an extra national O lineman on the roster. So let's see what Jacob Stott can do. And what better time than to come join the Alouettes than just before they play a playoff game.
Exactly. Alouettes also made some roster changes and releasing 3 players. These are all nationals. Jalen Alexander, Rashad Harding, and Felix Harper were all released a couple days ago. I think it's something that had been rumored was going to be happening. The Owls are going to be making some other changes, some minor changes to the roster. But I don't think, did any of them get any playing time in Montreal?
Nope.
No. Also, another thing too, which we didn't see at all. He didn't make. Yes, he was on the active roster, but Cole Speaker didn't. Speaker didn't make any catches. It didn't look like he even got into the game versus Ottawa.
Actually, he did.
Oh, did he?
It was on specials.
Nice. There we go. Okay.
Didn't do anything of note, unfortunately, but I mean, he definitely played.
Yeah. And also one thing too, I've been watching. I don't think it's really that much of a deal at the moment, but. Davis Alexander has been limited in practice this week because of I think they listed as an arm issue.
I seen shoulder, but
it was a shoulder.
Yeah.
Sorry, it was shoulder. Thank you for the correction.
Yeah, which is interesting because he also didn't play. I mean, he dressed for the game but did not play. So I don't know if he hurt his shoulder from fist pumping in victory, but
could be practice though.
I hope not.
I mean, remember what happened to VA?
This is true. So
and
yes, injuries can occur at any time. So, but hopefully nothing too serious for Davis Alexander because this is a young man that I was really hoping would get some reps in these later parts. I mean, I guess it all depended on if Montreal was able to be dominant and run away with the division, which unfortunately no team really truly has been able to do that in the East. But it would be nice to see Davis Alexander get some reps at quarterback, but. Will he? I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see what happens in Toronto.
Yeah, for sure. So to set it up, Alouettes have the next 2 games, a home and home versus the Toronto Argonauts. If they win both games, the Alouettes will clinch the Eastern Division title and will host the East Final. If they lose one of the 2 games, they will host the Eastern Semifinal. The dates of those games will be November 6th or November 13th. Both games are on Sundays, and they are at 1 p.m. The line I saw...
We still don't know who the...
Go ahead.
And we still don't know who the Alouettes would be playing if they were to host the Eastern semifinal because, as I said, there's still numerous scenarios where either Saskatchewan, Hamilton, or even Ottawa, believe it or not, could get into the playoffs and end up playing in that Eastern semifinal. Still, a few things have to fall into place. Maybe by the end of this weekend, we'll have a little bit better idea. Maybe it'll be a little more clear. But as it stands right now, folks, there still is a playoff spot up for grabs, and one of 3 teams is going to get it. Whether or not they deserve it, that's another story. But I mean, that's just what this season has been all about this year. It's just craziness, just absolute craziness when it comes to the Eastern Division.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. And the line was up here earlier on 5 dimes, but it's not up here now. But I think the last time I checked, the Alouettes were they a 1-point underdog? I'm trying to remember what it was, but because it's not up here anymore, Cliff. Do you have the latest line?
I do not. I mean, I can check another website. You keep going to 5 times.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's others that would tell us.
Yeah, because it was just here up here. Check. It was up here earlier tonight, so I don't know why it's all of a sudden gone. But it is what it is. But yeah,
well, so the lines can change at a moment's notice, but I don't know if there's anything that was done to possibly suggest. Let's see. According to Bet Regal,
is the game not up there either?
Regal's not. Holy cow, this website is garbage.
But I mean,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, here we go. Montreal is, Toronto is favored by 1.5.
Okay, and is there an
Montreal
over/under?
Doesn't even get the over/under right now is sitting at 48.5.
Okay, all right. So obviously, it is a huge matchup for these 2 teams. Alouettes should have had a win earlier in the year in Toronto, but because of a very bad kick for a winning field goal went wide. The Alouettes lost the game at BMO. This game's going to be huge, considering the Toronto team that's coming in made a hell of a comeback versus the Edmonton Elks this past week.
Oh my goodness, that was you talk about entertaining football. That in itself was entertaining because you could tell the Elks are trying so hard to finally break that record of futility, that losing streak at home. And Toronto obviously wanted to win and cement themselves further in the playoffs. But I mean, it was definitely one of those seesaw matches as well. And you just, playing all 60 minutes, which was incredible. In fact, think about it, like all 4 games this past week were nail biters. Like really came down to the last couple of plays. I mean, like there was no blowouts, nothing that like it was just really good football, all things considered.
No, I agree, and that's obviously what we're hoping for here. With a little bit of home cooking for the Alouettes and stuff like that. But I mean, it just goes to show that just like with the Alouettes, you can make the adjustments that you need in the second half, and you can just come back and play just an amazing game. And these games are going to be entertaining, dude. That's all I can say. These games are going to be very entertaining, and I'm actually happy to have this. No, I'm going to actually ask you. I'm happy to have the first game of the 2-game series in Montreal. For you, is that what you would think too, or would you rather have the last game of the 2-game set in Montreal?
I don't think it really matters, but I can't help but wonder. Like now we know what the scenario is. I mean, one would hope that Montreal would be amped up, knowing that they're playing in front of their hometown fans and knowing that they've got to win to keep the party going. And as we said, go 1-0 every week. And that's what Montreal has to do. That really, truly is what they have to do, is go 1-0 this week. And I suppose here's the thing. I want to believe that they're going to be hyped playing in front of their fans, and they're supposed to be hyped playing in front of their fans on Thanksgiving Day, and look how that turned out. So it really just does come down to how bad do they want it. And this team, as we've seen all year, there's been lots of highlights and lowlights. I mean, you just almost don't know which team is going to show up. And I guess that's part of the fun and part of the thrill. But at the same time, at this point, you should know what your team is at this point. And I still don't know if we really truly know what this Alouettes team is. Are they a good team, or are they just good enough? And I don't know if a win will necessarily determine that. It all depends on the win. Depends on how convincing the win is. But simply put, Montreal has to show up this week for sure. They can't dog it, because at that point, if they do, then you pretty much know they're just content to make it. And I think that's what it was last year with the Alouettes. They kind of fell ass backwards into the playoffs, and they were just content to be there.
Yeah, don't remind me of that Ottawa game.
Well, I'm sorry, I have to. Like, if they turn in an effort like that against Toronto, then the only difference is, okay, we don't have to go on the road and play that Eastern semifinal game, but you can't rest on your laurels as far as I'm concerned. And I want to believe that this team realizes that and won't play like they're just happy to be there. I think they're glad they got the W last week against Ottawa. They know they're going to have a home playoff game. It's just a matter of, are they now at that point where like, we don't want just a home playoff game. We want the home playoff game. We want that advantage. We want to be able to say the road to the Grey Cup will go through the La Belle Province. And if they can do that, if they can set that tone and make Toronto earn a victory at home.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is you got to draw the line in the sand and say, this is our house. We are defending the nest and we want to win. And if they get that win, it makes the stakes even higher going to BMO Field next week. And that's what we want. We want to see good competitive football. We want to see a team that is excited to be in the playoffs and inspired. And hopefully the fans will come out and be just as inspired by this team. Really, truly, like that's what I want to see. And that's what I hope I will see on Saturday, is a team that is inspired and ready to fight and ready to prove that they are that team that we think that they are, that they claim to be. I want to see it. I know you want to see it. I think the fans that are going to be coming to the game on Saturday, they want to see it too. So I'm hoping that this team, this good team that we keep thinking that they are, will show up and prove us to be right.
Exactly. Should be fun. I mean, going up against Macbeth, he surprises you. He really, really does. But I mean, it's I'm curious to see if the Alouettes will make any changes to the actual roster itself. We won't see the depth chart until Friday. But still, you know what? And I was saying before, I'd rather have this game here, because in many seasons in the past, Cliff, where we've had a nothing game for the last game of the season in Montreal, I'd rather have something to play for. I'm just so pumped that we got this game here this Saturday.
Yeah, like I said, They play this game properly. They come out with a win. They know full well, okay, we go to Toronto. We came so close to winning that first game way back in July. Was it July or June? June, sorry. It was literally a missed field goal was the difference between winning and losing.
Yeah.
And I know they have to remember that. They have to realize, okay, we had a great opportunity. We can win on this field. We know we've got the talent to be able to do it. Now it's just a matter of showing it.
Yeah.
And it all starts on Saturday. Like I want to see them set the tone for the next 2 weeks on Saturday.
Yep. I agree.
And this team can do that.
Yep. I know it doesn't mean anything but I know it doesn't mean anything when it comes to numbers and stuff like that because they're just numbers. But the Alouettes have won the last 7 of 8 in Montreal and have won the last 6 in a row. So
there. I mean, that's like history favors the Alouettes in this one. So it's just a matter of now they've got to go and make their own history. And it all starts on Saturday. Like I said, the next 2 weeks is basically the rest of your season. Let's see what this team can do. We know they're going to play in the playoffs. We know the Argos are going to be in the playoffs. Now it's just a matter of who wants to be the top dog, who wants to be the one on top hosting that Eastern final, and who's going to end up playing in the semifinal. Yep. We'll see what happens. I agree. We are pumped for this game. We're pumped to see you at Percival Molson this Saturday. Glorious weather, cheering on the Alouettes and hopefully get that win. And you know what, as Cliffy was saying before, making it a one game takes all for the Eastern Division. That could be fun. We will be back here next week, obviously, to talk about the result and heading into that season finale and then into the playoffs. But we really appreciate you. We thank you for joining us every week. And we will be back next week, obviously, to talk about the Alouettes and leading up to those Grey Cup playoffs. So, Cliff, I will see you there, my friend, and we hope to see you guys here back next week. So, for everybody here at the Alouettes Flight Deck for Cliffy D, I'm Tim Capper. One final approach.